Okay, I'm going to make some of my Algebra 2 students a little bit upset that I never showed them this before this video. There actually is a function on your calculator that allows us to do imaginary numbers. Let me show you how that works. The imaginary mode is found when we press mode, and you're going to scroll down and you're going to switch from real to A plus BI. And if you remember when we first started talking about imaginary numbers, we said there were two parts to an imaginary number, A plus BI, where this is our real solution, a real part of our answer, and this was the imaginary. Okay, so by turning that mode on, what I'm telling my calculator is I want you to accept that we can take the square root of -1. And notice what it says. The square root of -1 is I. Okay, how can this be helpful? Well, let's just look at some examples. First off, what is the value of I to the third? Well, if I were to think of this and, do the problem, I would think, okay, that means square root -1 times square root -1 times square root -1. Now, if I multiply these, they're the square root of this number, so I'm going to get -1 times square root -1, which, second, my I button is down here, it's second, you got to look closely, and then I'm going to raise that to the third power. Notice I get -I, which is the same thing as -1 times square root of -1, -1I. Alright? What is the value of I to the fifth? Now this is interesting, and you got to get comfortable with this. I'm going to leave this here so you remember what the screen looks like. When we do this, if you've learned imaginary numbers, you know that every time we multiply by I to the fourth, I to the fourth is equal to 1. So when you look at this, if you were doing this by hand, I would say I to the fourth times I, so I'd get 1I for my solution. The calculator actually does a little bit more than that for us. So when I say I to the fifth, we're going to get I. Hold on, it must be on the next one once we go past that. So far, so good, though, right? Okay, let's say I to the 11th. Second I to the 11. Okay, now, that says something crazy. What does that mean?